Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Andrew. You can call me Cookies. And today we're going to go over a little quick start guide for healing Mythic Plus as a Mistweaver monk. So we're going to go over like talents, Azerite, essences, and then just like a little quick clip that I found from my previous stream to go over just like the utility of a monk and what you should be looking at to play it when you're in Mythic Plus. So going over talents, Mistrap in the first row, pretty much in all cases. Chi Wave's just really underwhelming. Chi Burst is only worth if like the whole group can stay stacked up, and even then, Mistrap usually comes out on top just for million one. So take Mistrapped. In our 30 talent tree, it doesn't really matter what you take, but there are some dungeons where Tiger's Lust can be actually extremely useful. One that comes to mind is Underrot, where you have like these spear checker ads that root people in place, do damage to them. The Tiger's Lust will break them out of that. So if there's any dungeons that have like slowing effects or root effects or things like that, I would recommend taking Tiger's Lust and like finding where you can best utilize that. And then next we have our third row, which I take life cycles in most cases just to help save mana passively on tyrannical weeks where you are going to be dealing with like longer boss fights or drawn out encounters or things like that. Definitely take Manatee. It's going to be pretty much the go-to talent for hierarchies. But for general, just key running, life cycles will typically do the job just fine. 60 row, Ring of Peace, always. Ring of Peace is way too useful. It's a useful spell in the game. Take it. The other two don't offer any kind of extra utility or anything outstanding for Mythic Plus, so Ring of Peace, Ring of Peace, Ring of Peace. It counts as an interrupt. It counts as a displacement effect. It can help your tank kite. Like, it just does so many things. So take Ring of Peace, use it, learn how to use it. Really good. Next row, typically Diffused Magic is going to be your go-to in most dungeons. The ones that stand out the most for Diffused Magic are Waycrest, Temple, Shrine, Underrot, but I'm sure there's others that do apply as well. But that'll be the go-to talent for those dungeons. Other than that, take Dampen Harm if you just want a nice little damage reduction cooldown. And then for Grievous weeks, I like to take Healing Elixir, because if I start dropping low and have Grievous stacks, I can just double press Healing Elixir, boom, I'm full health, don't have to worry about Grievous, since it's a percentage-based heal. Next row is going to be Jade Serpent Statue. In most cases, you're going to be taking this just for general tank healing, and what it mainly allows you to do is just put Soothing Mist on like the tank, and then you can just go DPS, and essentially the Serpent Statue will pretty much do most of the healing that's required for the tank until, you know, he starts taking significant damage. But if he has a cooldown rolling or a defensive of any kind, then it will pretty much do the job itself. Refreshing Jadewind can be viable on certain fights. One dungeon that comes to mind is like Waycrest Manor, where like the boss rooms are really small and enclosed, where the group can be essentially stacked up the entire fights, but not. Other than that, if you want like more healing output out of like for like a tyrannical boss, or if you're doing really big pulls on Fortified or really scary pulls on Fortified, PG's totally viable, good. Like it's a really good healing cooldown. Just be aware that you're gonna kind of sacrifice some tank healing and target healing. Take one of for like more, you know, raw output healing. Then for last row, Focus Thunder is pretty much the go-to always. Upwelling is not worth it because of the way that we use Font of Life, which I'll explain in a little bit. And then Rising Mist can be useful if you want to play like a little bit more of an aggressive like DPS focus build, but again, Focus Thunder just will do the job a little bit better most cases. So Focus Thunder, Rising Mist if you kind of want to play around with it and check it out. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go over is some Azerite. So this is the Mythic Plus Azerite setup that I currently have. It's nothing special. I just kind of threw together the extra pieces I have that I don't use in raid. So first off, we'll go over like our main kind of healing traits that we're looking after, which are Secret Infusion is like our go-to trait. We want to try to get like 2 or 3 of those if possible, because this just allows us to selectively choose what stats we get in the dungeon to what we want, pretty much. And then the next healing trait is Uplifted Spirits. Will just increase our main heal and then also give us a reduced cooldown on Revival. And then generic traits are totally fine as well. This one like gives me haste. The ones that give mastery are good. Trade winds and insight of the pact and stuff like that, or insight the pact. And so those are like your main healing traits. The only other one that is worth mentioning, in my opinion, is Burst of Life. That just reduces the cooldown of your life cocoon and gives a little bit of a burst heal. So that can be useful if you're looking for, you know, more usage out of your life cocoon, or if you need it more often or something like that. Okay, and then the more offensive traits, if you want to go for like a more damage oriented build, again, generic traits that have haste on them are good, or like generic DPS traits. Careful with those because they don't do whatever benefit your healing. And then the other traits that are good are Sunrise Technique, Undulating Tides, and which is Glory of the Dawn. Will empower your Rising Sun. But the ones that I like taking are Sunrise Technique and Undulating Tides. So those are your go-to if you just want to like increase your damage output as a Mistweaver in Mythic Plus. So that covers Azerite. As far as I can remember, I think I'm not missing important. So going into essences, we'll talk about majors first. The most used major that you'll probably want is Conflict and Strife. This just gives you a nice healing cooldown, damage cooldown, stuff like that. It's an all-around nice little essence for Mythic Plus, works perfectly. If you want more of just a damage-focused essence, run Crucible of Flame as your major. And then if you want more of like a healing-focused major, you run Ever-Rising Tide, Life Binders, if you're more like of an AoE heal or kind of a cooldown heal, so to speak. And then Memory of Lucid Dreams, again, for like tyrannical fights or long drawn-out pulls where you're going to need like a lot of extra mana, and Mana Tea isn't really doing the trick. And then we have for minors, the way minors are going to work is you're pretty much going to want Conflict and Strife as a minor if you're not running it as your major. You're going to want Ever-Rising Tide as a minor if you're not running it as your major. And then you pretty much pick between like Memory of Lucid Dreams, Life Binders, or like Well of Existence could even work as your minor. So hopefully that wasn't too fast. Hopefully that's easy enough to get. You can pause the video, rewind it, all that stuff if you need to check those out. Or just ask me if you know you want my other opinions about the other essences, but I don't feel like any of the other ones are really worth mentioning for specifically Mythic Plus. Okay, and then the last thing we have is I guess stat priority. We could go over that really quick. So for stats, you're basically just equipping item level, honestly. As a healer, that's just generally the best bet. But if you want to really min-max for Mythic Plus, and you really want to build your character around that content, then try to focus more on like haste and mastery, and then, you know, go crit verse after that. But haste mastery will definitely give you the most like damage and single target healing output increases, with best in Mythic Plus. Okay, so last thing I wanted to go over is a little clip. It's nothing special. I'm doing a super low key, so you know you don't have to comment on that. I get it. I make a bunch of mistakes here. I play like trash. I'm just kind of doing a casual like run through random pug key. But I saw that it like kind of demonstrates how you should be making sure that you utilize a monk in a key. This is kind of it's just setting up the idea of what you should be trying to achieve. Collapse that so we get a better view. So here, the first major thing is if you're the only monk in the group, make sure you apply your monk debuff to everything that people are fighting, always. Here I do it super fucking late, but that's totally fine. But essentially, spinning crane kick, you just do it once, it'll do the job. And then here you can see that the mobs drop Sanguine. This is a Sanguine Grievous week. So I Ring of Peace right as the mobs are dying, and boom, they're all spread out. And so that's kind of like not the best use of Ring of Peace, but either way, it gets them out of the Sanguine, and that's a win. I'm also not worried at all about this Grievous, because monks are extremely good at healing through Grievous, just getting people topped off super quick. So the last thing I wanted to show you guys is the way that Mistweavers use Font of Life, and this is why things like the Uplifted Spirits are not very good in most cases. So essentially you're going to see here that I start channeling Font of Life at the moment. Be coming up right about right there, and you'll see that I cancel it about halfway through. Let me see that I cancel it about halfway through. And And this is because all you're trying to do with Fonts of Life and Mythic Plus is just apply this little buff to everybody in the group, or at least the people who you're trying to heal. So like, as for instance, in this specific case, as soon as the tank gets this buff from Essence Font, I should just cancel the cast and start single target healing him. Because that's all I want it for, is just to apply that buff so that my mastery's doubled, so that I do more single target healing to him. So that's kind of the idea. Use Ring of Peace to help your group, you know, position the mobs in the way you want, or help your tank, help your tank kite mobs, or interrupt things, or just reposition things to kind of stack them back up nicely, stuff like that. Be sure that you're not full channeling Essence Font in most cases. You just want to apply the buff and then get right back to healing. And then be sure to apply your monk debuff, obviously, to everything that people are fighting if you're the only monk in the group. So that kind of covers this quick start guide. If you want more in-depth stuff, or you want me to comment over like a full dungeon, or I could just run a dungeon and like record it, me just kind of talking live over it, let me know, and I can make like a part 2 to this. But I do plan to do this for all the healers, so stay tuned over the weekend. And also come check out my stream. I stream guaranteed on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, starting at about 8 p.m. Pacific, where I raid. And then I try to stream outside of those windows, either later, earlier, or on the weekends and whatnot, doing Mythic Plus content and stuff like that, or just kind of doing my daily grinds, trying not to lose my mind, farming essences on all my healers. So if you like healer content, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next. So thank you so much for watching, and have a great evening.